Bonjour.
So, good, hello. I'm going to tell you a real story, the story of Mehdi. Mehdi comes from Northern Africa, but he was born in France. He was raised in what we tend to call a popular neighborhood. He has 5 brothers and sisters. His mom doesn't work. His dad works in a car factory. And as many of the people of his neighborhoods, he gets to a school where he gets a baccalaureate with decent grades. And he decides to stop school at that stage. Mehdi is convinced that school is not going to teach him much. It doesn't foresee much future for him, and he wants to make a living. So he decides to quit school. He wants to work at PSA, so in the car factory, the same car factory his father is working for. And then his position is replaced by a robot. So he's made redundant, and he works, he spends time in his neighborhood, doesn't know what to do, but then he's enrolled in he goes to Africa to work on a solidarity project. And in this project is enrolled in the building of a school. And he realizes how important school is for those children in Africa. And he thinks that maybe he missed on something when he quit school, when he dropped out of school. So he comes back to school, comes back to France, first of all, and decides to resume his studies. And today, Mehdi is having a double cursus, is studying in a business school, and is in the same school as the heir to the PSA family he used to work for, so the car factory owner. So that's a nice success story, but it's an exception. Unfortunately, it is not what happens on a daily basis. If we have a closer look to the figures, PISA studies, notably, there are a number of figures which say that school just reproduces the scheme of social inequality. If you're the child to a worker, you have a lot less chances in society than the child of a teacher or a higher responsibility worker. So at the end of the day, 40% of senior workers have a baccalaureate and make higher studies, while it is only 4% of workers' children. So, why is so? Why aren't there more Medis in this country? Why are we not able to take advantage of all the potential out there and all the talents that we could make use of? I have 2 answers. I think that we are too demanding with teachers. We still have the myth of the teacher of the Republic, the teachers of the old days, when those teachers self-handedly are going to get all those children out of this difficult situation and get them a good job. You know that it's a nice story, but it's not reality. When you are a teacher with a class of 35 pupils and a very difficult program to get across, how do you think it is humanly possible to dedicate enough time, enough customized time, in quality time to each and every one of those pupils? And then there is the difficult reality. Florian is a young boy, is the son to a family of farmers in the Alps area. He explained that he was the first of his family, of his entire family, to get a baccalaureate, simply because the bus to get to school takes 1.5 hours to get to school. So this is a question of inequality, a question of housing and transportation and precariousness. And there is also a second hurdle. So I talked to you about Mehdi. Mehdi met with the right people in Africa, but I'm convinced that for the older amongst you in the public, if you think back on your own background, you will probably identify a couple of people that were very important in your career and in your life. Can be teachers, can be member of your family. And I think that in the Hautes-Alpes, where Florian comes from, and I think that in the factory of in the other car factories, there are other Medis, there are other Florian who are not who are not lucky enough to make this, to meet that person, that right person, that inspirational person. So what can we do to help those? At Passeport Avenir, so Passport for the Future, our company, we had this idea, which is a very simple idea. We decided to make this meeting happen, to make universes and people meet that would not meet under normal circumstances, while they live side by side or very close one to the other. So on the one side, those young people who could be tempted to go back to their families, their neighborhood, and do nothing. And on the other hand, the employees of big companies, those who have a career and who never, ever go to those neighborhoods or remote areas. So how can we get those two worlds to meet? So we're asking those employees to be volunteers. We train them, and we get them a mission. Go out there, reach out to those people, reach out to those young persons, and become their mentors, and be by their side as long as needed for them to get a degree, to get a master's degree, to get a bachelor, to get a degree which is going to have an added value on the work market, on the job market. And this is how we met with Mehdi. And he had 3 mentors in his entire life. So what's the role of a mentor? Well, first of all, to give very practical information. A mentor is here to teach you and tell you what happens in a factory, tell you about wages, tell you about salary, tell you about how to introduce yourself, how to get a job, how to get a temporary job, how to get an internship. Everything that your family, even if they want to, can provide you with. And there's also another dimension to being a mentor. A mentor is also a person, a selfless person, a person ready to spend some time, a person who has a connection with you from a different generation, but who is going to help you grow, help you become more mature, and help you become a better person. I'm going to give you the example of Marcel. Marcel was born in Cameroon. She arrived in France at 9. Her life was not easy. Her mother was a single mother, and they had a life of experiments. It was not an easy life. And she managed to get a baccalaureate. And Marcel thinks that those fancy schools are not for her, that she doesn't have enough money to afford being enrolled in such a school. But she kept working, she kept learning, and we met with Marcel. And many years down the line, Marcel has been nominated as one of the 30 talents of the Africa of tomorrow. So this is one further success story, and I could tell you 1,000 of those, and probably actually 1,367, because 1,367 is the number of young persons that we are mentoring this year. And there are more than 4,000 even close to 5,000 persons that we are mentoring and attending the collective workshops that we're organizing in a number of partner schools. So what we're interested in at Passeport Avenir is not mentoring a few students out there with extra good results. We want to help those young people who are sent to those vocational trainings, those people who drop out of school, those who have a different educational pathway, a different educational background. And I can tell you that we are very successful in doing so. I'm going to give you a few figures, a few results that we achieved. 90% of the young people that we mentor after the baccalaureate get to a high school, get to a very good school. 100% of the persons we're mentoring find a job within 6 months after they graduate. So this is what a young person can achieve if they are properly helped and managed and mentored. So now, once we've stated this, we're of course very happy to have mentored those very nice individual success stories, a few thousand a year, 18,000 in 10 years. Well, if we stop here, we can say that we've done a good job, but there's nothing extraordinary here. The rest of the story are those people like Mehdi, like Marcel, like Florian, those who graduated, and they're telling their story. What we're asking them to do now is to take power in the companies they're going to work for or the companies they're going to create. They have to climb the social ladder. They have to climb the ladder. The ultimate goal with a degree, with the network that they're creating, thanks to the trust, the self-confidence that we have instilled into them, is to get an entire generation of CEOs or entrepreneurs from minorities, from popular backgrounds, from less favored backgrounds. And this is something that we want for France, but also elsewhere. And those people will be leaders. They will be leaders thanks to their background, thanks to their story. They're a bit different. Those are young persons who were very resilient, very courageous. They know how to adapt. They know how to adapt in different worlds. They have complex and multiple identities, and they never give up. Mehdi tells me that every day is changing worlds, it's changing universes. He's taking the train, he leaves his neighborhood, his childhood friends, and goes to his fancy school. Another young boy told me that he was no longer feeling in the wrong place, but he felt comfortable everywhere he was. So those leaders will be different because of their experience as well. They know what it is to be different. They know how it is, what it is to go through difficult situations. And I'm convinced that there will be different leaders, maybe more virtuous, maybe more responsible, because they are closer to the real challenges of the world. And I strongly believe in this because I'm already seeing such examples in real life. Mehdi and others, they go back to their neighborhood, they go back to the neighborhood, to the high school, and they make speeches. Others are thinking about a World Day of equality of chances. And this will take place on the 26th of November, simultaneously in many countries, in Morocco, in Germany, in Berlin. And there are so many such projects planned. So it makes me very proud. And those young people, they're a group, they're a homogeneous group. They really represent France in all its dimensions. They are either white or black or from Northern Africa. They either come from a rural region, a remote region, they come from the cities. They have to overcome the same hurdles. They have the same weaknesses, they have the same desires, and they realize that they are united by a bond which really goes beyond communities, beyond territories, beyond the skin's color. So I wanted to show the pictures of some of them. Marcel, Mehdi, Florian, they're on this picture. One day, there will be the ceremony of those fancy schools. There will be leaders, there will be CEOs. And I think that the people sitting in the publics of such forums as today will have those faces. And I will conclude with something that Mehdi said. He wrote to me a few days after what happened in January in France. You taught me that I should not have to choose between Bagnolet, which is a neighborhood in Paris, and La Défense, which is the financial area, the CBD in France. That I was rich of my differences. What is important is not to follow any standard, but to build our own success based on our background or different backgrounds. And I thank you very much for your attention.